I will say a few introductory words about the program for economics and society in the Baeyer Institute, and then I'll present speakers, and the forum will be theirs. Okay, the program for economics and society in the Baeyer Institute was founded by a group of people, mostly economists, but not only economists, who were alarmed by the recent, I would describe it, onslaught or attack on the welfare state in Israel, and especially by the aggressive ideological attacks on the welfare state. And we thought that economics doesn't necessarily mean, the economic science doesn't necessarily mean that we should dismantle every trace of the welfare state from in general and in Israel especially. And we initiated this program in order to show that economic analysis does not have necessarily any ideological bias, and it can help also people who strive for a more egalitarian society as well. So we have, in the last year or so, we have had many activities, including a conference that dealt with issues of inequality in Israel, and many other meetings on trade and on the ultra-Orthodox community, which is one of the poorest in the country, and other activities. And we have also some website and some magazine and stuff. Please. And one of the activities we invited, while he was on the Middle East, we invited Professor Jeffrey Sachs from Columbia University, and he gave a public talk about his new book, The End of Poverty. And he also met with the people from the program. And he had many interesting ideas for future activities. One of them we haven't yet done, which was his idea to issue a good research, not necessarily about the poor, but about the very, very rich, which still waits for someone to take this challenge and do. But another idea he raised was that to discuss issues of the welfare state not only among ourselves within Israel, but to meet with people in other areas, in other countries, and especially countries that have either different structure or different model. And one of the ideas he was thinking about was to talk to people about, people from Scandinavia, about the Scandinavian model or the Swedish model. And the idea sank, and the result of it is today, is our meeting today. So I'm very happy to have here two excellent economists from Sweden. And I'm not speaking, I know at least one of them I know for many, many years. And they will discuss, they will lead the discussion, and of course you are free to join and create it a really a good dialogue. So the first one to talk will be Marten Palme from the Stockholm University, who is a more microeconomist in nature, applied empirical microeconomist and labor economist. And Marten will talk about the state of the Swedish model in the present, about its details, structure, problems, etc. And then we'll have a discussion, and then we'll have a short break. And after that, Professor John Hassler, who is from the Institute of International Economic Studies, which is also within Stockholm University, but it's a different department. Like Marten is from the Department of Economics, and John is from the Institute of International Economic Studies. And he will talk more about try to say a few things about the possible future trends of the welfare system in Sweden. What are the projections? What are the possible scenarios, etc. And I'm sure that we'll have a great presentation and a lively discussion. So, Marten, the floor is yours.
Okay, my plan is to give first a sort of brief overview of the income security system, which is main parts of the Swedish welfare state. And then I will talk, give overview of some research on the effects of the income security system on behavior of the citizens. Okay, so the main components of the income security system is these five. So it consists of old age pension plan and disability insurance. So old age pension is the biggest part, 8.3% of GDP. And then
how old is the population? Is the population relatively old?
It's relatively old, I would say. I don't know exactly the track. It's relatively old. The life expectancy is one of the longest in the world, I think.
The old age pensions is like the basic pension, and there you add some pension programs, or that's old pension?
Yeah, I have to go, yeah.
So how many layers of this?
It's, just 1 minute. Yeah. Then it's a disability insurance program for long-term handicap, or those who do their work from disabilities. And then it's a sick pay insurance system, so which replaced foregone earnings from temporary disabilities or temporary sicknesses, which is about equal size of the unemployment insurance. And then we have also maternity leave program. All these programs are the main financing of it is through payroll taxes, employers' contributions.
Dads can take maternity leave too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll come back to that as well. So the old age pension system consists of three parts: basic pension, so flat rate pension, which is equal for all, and then a special supplement, which is for people with very low supplementary pension, and then it's a supplementary pension scheme, income-related scheme. So second pillar, income-related up to a social security scheme. And they're basically pay-as-you-go schemes. So the supplementary pension is determined as about 60% of the 15 best average of 15 best years, and it's linearly reduced if you contribute less than 30 years to a plan. Then it's an actuarial reduction if you can take benefits from age 60, but the normal retirement age is 65. then have an actual reduction 1.5% for each every month of early withdrawal from the 60-year birthday. So this is the sort of prevalent pension scheme, but then it's recently it's gone through a reform, which will be sort of the transition plan. So those who are born in 1938 are in 20% in the new scheme, and that would increase by 5% by each cohort until the cohort born in 1954 will be entirely in the new scheme. And the new scheme is a notional defined contribution scheme. So the contribution of it is fixed to 18.5% of the wage sum, and 16% of those are a pay-as-you-go scheme, and 2.5 is a fully funded scheme. And it also includes a sort of basic guaranteed level. All contributions are sort of recorded. It's not like the ATP or previous income-related scheme, which only where the benefits were only reflected in the 15 best years. And it's indexed by the average wage sum. And the replacement level should be, intention is that it should be about equal to the previous scheme. So the main differences between the previous pension scheme is the indexation. The new scheme, the contribution are fixed to 18.5%, so the tax rate is fixed, and so the sort of risk of economic downturns is borne by the retired populations. In the previous scheme, it was indexed by the price index, and risk and financial crises were covered by tax increases in the payroll tax. So the main idea is that the new system should be much more financially sustainable. It couldn't go. It couldn't go bankrupt, or in the sense that you need to increase the tax levels. Another main difference is that early career earnings is weighted more heavily in the new system. So, since it's indexed by the development of the average wages. Okay, and finally, it's the fully funded part. It's compulsory, but you could invest that 2.5% of the wage sum in a wide menu of privately managed funds. Presently, 611 of different alternatives. Yes.
Can you say something about the trade union pension, the AMF pension, electa pension, which add also to the pension fund?
Yeah.
And to the other aspect of the new reform pension, which means that you are insured also when you are in a maternity leave or when you are unemployed. Or
I come back. Yeah, I definitely come back to that. These are the additional. The first part of your question was related to trade unions. It's true that Sweden is the trade unions are very strong on the Swedish labor market. Like I think 95% of the workers are covered by central agreements between the employers and the employers' confederations and the trade unions, and I think about 80% are members of trade unions.
This is on top of what you said.
Yeah, this is these are pension plans that come out of the central agreements, which in most cases cover also non-trade union members. Like if you're in the central agreement, you're covered by these pension plans. And there are four main plans. First plan is one plan is for blue-collar workers in the private sector, and it's presently transformed from a pay-as-you-go system where the benefits were determined by the earnings between age 55 and age 60 to a fully funded scheme where you offset 3.5% of the wage sum to a trade union funded system. The white collar, that is a white collar worker scheme also for the private sector, which is mainly covers incomes above the social security scheme, above the social security ceiling, which was the social security ceiling is price indexed, but and when the system was introduced, it was about 8% of the workers were above that ceiling. Now it's gradually increasing. I think it's like about 20% of all income earners are above the social security ceiling. Okay, and in particular, the white-collar workers are the kind of workers that are most frequently above that ceiling. And then there's separate programs for employees in the local central government sector.
Who gets the better deal? The blue collars or the white collars?
Definitely the white-collar workers. They have a funny thing about their plan is that they have a guarantee pension, which is what they would have get in the blue-collar worker plan. So if they, for some very unlikely reason, gets lower pension than they're on that guarantee level required.
But is there any distribution within these systems, or is it that you get back how much you've invested, basically, as an individual?
I don't think there are any studies on that, but I mean the idea is that it shouldn't be much redistribution. And I think, I mean, in the new post-reform program where it's a fully funded system, it's unlikely to be large redistribution. Okay, the disability pension program, disability insurance program. It's a gradual transformation. It used to be it still is the most common exit route out of the labor force for those who retire before age 65. And it's, well, incapacity to work is a requirement for eligibility, and it's decided by the Social Security Office, but on the recommendation for a medical doctor. And and the replacement level is 70% of the average earning the 5 years before you've been eligible for the disability insurance, and then it's extra 10% from the occupational pension plans, the union-based pension. It's been a gradual transformation from sort of an early retirement scheme to a disability insurance. Before you could get disability insurance for labor market reasons up to 1991 for people above age 60. And then up to 1997 it was health in combination with labor market reasons.
If an employee wants to send workers for early retirement, he cannot do it?
He could do it up to 1991, definitely. And he did very often, like in downscale. That's why they changed the rules, I think.
This is something very common in Israel, that a lot of workplaces want to save some money. They send workers on early retirement.
Yeah.
And it's not common nowadays?
It is. I mean, it's still. There are anecdotal evidence on when times of scaling down. It's very common that it's done in collaboration with a company doctor and trying to find disabilities on the workforce.
It has to go through this channel.
Yeah.
And the problem, I suppose, have gone down relative to how it was earlier.
Definitely, it has. Yeah, I've actually studied on that, and it decreased radically after reforms. And it also up a market for severance payments and severance payment insurances. Then it's a sick pay insurance scheme, which it replaces temporary disabilities or temporary health. It replaces health problems. It replaces 80% of earnings up to the Social Security system. And there are also some additions from the trade union schemes or occupation pension schemes. The replacement level has changed frequently during the system has gone through several crises in recent years, since 1980s, and the replacement level has changed a lot. It has also been sort of privatized recently. In 1992, the replacement from the first 10 days were transformed to the employers. So they pay the sickness insurance payment the first 10 days, and since 2005 they pay 20% of the cost for longer spells as well. So it's a kind of privatization of the then it's the unemployment insurance program, and it's two parts. One flat rate part and one which is income related. And the income related part requires membership of the unemployment fund, but and union members are automatically connected to the union fund, to the employment funds. But you could be a member, not be a member of a trade union, and still be a member of the unemployment insurance fund. The replacement level is the same as for the sickness insurance, except for the ceiling of the system. So it's kind of strange. This ceiling of the system is set discretionary by the politicians, and it could be presently it's somewhat lower than the Social Security ceiling, but it could also be changed. Okay, eligibility requires sort of active search for a new job, and refuses
How is this defined?
Yeah, it's problematic. It's determined by the. You could reject 2 offers, but you have to accept the third, actually. And it's determined by the yeah, and yeah, it is not clear how.
What's the present rate of unemployment?
It's 4%. Well,
A little bit more.
yeah, 4.5.
Well, there is at least anecdotal evidence that the monitoring of this is quite different in different regions, and it might also, I guess, depend on local labor market situations and things like that. But there is a lot of discussion going on now that you should be this should be defined in a more uniform way all over the country.
Could you say please something about the actual ceilings in dollar or euros or whatever?
Yeah, it's on about
30,000 crowns.
300.
230,000 crowns per year.
Yeah, okay. I think about 20% of the incomers are above the ceiling, and 80% of the income distribution is below the ceiling.
Actually, I like to compare it with the average salary. Okay, let's take an engineer's salary. Let's take an engineer's salary.
Okay.
Government.
What's the social security
What's the relation?
Yeah.
in terms of average wage? Not that.
It's definitely above the average wage.
Average wage of, let's say,
Oh,
academic worker, engineer or something?
Well, for a white collar worker, it's probably, most cases above the ceiling. I mean, if he's in the 20% top income earners, he's above the ceiling. And
how far above?
The average wage of a professor might be 10 to 20% above.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Definitely, John and I are above the ceiling, and by far. So it is an issue. And it is like construction workers. There are some construction workers have, for some times, at least exceeded the Social Security ceiling, which has created lots of tension.
There is a political discussion about raising these ceilings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Not the least among the Social Democratic Party. Several people want to increase it in order to increase the trust in the system from people.
Yeah.
For older workers, 50 plus, when they finish their unemployment insurance, can they go and take early retirement? You said that the only way is if they have a disability.
Yeah.
Say they're unemployed, and then they exhaust their unemployment benefit and they can't find a job. What happens to them? Can they take their pension early? Is there a penalty for taking pensions early? How's it dealt with?
Yeah, it is. Well, before 1991, it was a very common path out of the labor force that you could have disability for unemployment for labor market reasons. But after that, it's I mean, formally not allowed.
So what happens? That's what I'm asking. What's the situation?
After 300 days, when it's exhausted.
Yes, after the exhaustion of the unemployment insurance.
There are actually, it's a discussion on that, but there are, if you go through a labor market program, you're required for a new spell.
But if you can't get a job, I mean, you remain unemployed.
Yeah.
After. Sorry? Yeah, there might. You mean there's no such thing as somebody who is unemployed because they cannot get a job over the age of 55?
Well, they could always get the labor market program and be eligible for
What's the labor market?
Up to the age of 65, they just go on to one program to the other if they don't get a job.
There's some, they could, but, well, some people are out insured and then they're on social aid, which is the sort of basic, only means tested income security program in Sweden. So
what's the labor program?
What's a labor market program?
Well, it's a training program for retraining of workers, like upgrade their skills. It's a huge thing.
It's a big.
Yeah, it is.
And is it usually teaching them lower level trade, or can also lead to?
Yeah, typically it's lower level trade. But nowadays they have like also basic computer skills.
And it could also be things about how to apply for a job and how I mean, all these things. How do you perform well in this institute and these things. But there is of course a criticism that 60-year-old people that go to this program doesn't necessarily find them extremely valuable.
Have you have any statistics about the effectivity of such, effectiveness of such plans? I mean, if somebody is out of a job because something changed in the market and he goes to such a training, what is the expectancy that he could actually get a job?
I don't know the exact numbers of that, but I mean, sooner or later most people find a new job.
You could expect to find a job.
Yeah, sure. The unemployment level is comparatively low. I mean, it's 4.5%. It's not.
Do we have foreign workers in Sweden?
Sure, we have. I think it's 11% of the population is born outside of Sweden. So it's a comparatively, which is about. I think the U.S. number is actually lower. It's 9 to 10%. So it's and compared to the Nordic country, it's much.
Where did they come from?
They used to come from before 1970. They come from mostly from Finland and which is the largest immigrant, and from Yugoslavia and Turkey. Now, since 1980s, it's most refugees from from Kurdistan. It's a big population.
How about East Europe?
Yeah, some from East Europe, and particularly from different parts of former Yugoslavia,
Yes. Can I suggest that from the platform that the left option is not allowed?
Okay, so we'll give 20 more minutes of straight talk and then we'll continue.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Finally, it's a maternity leave program, which is it's also same replacement level, and it's 480 days after the child is born, and 60 of these days are reserved for one of the parents, and in most cases it's the father. But it's increasing share of fathers taking maternity leave. Okay, so that was the sort of introductory overview of the system. Now I go into some brief overview of some research on the effects of the system. And so apart from the aims of the system to provide security and redistribute income from rich to poor, and that sort of gain from the system should then be weighted against the disincentive effect on savings and labor supply. Okay, so let's start with the old age pension program. And the effect of labor market behavior or retirement behavior. And the expected effect is that the social security system creates a fictive wealth, at least for some people that exceeds what they would have had in absence of social security. That creates an income effect towards earlier retirement or decreased labor supply. And then there's also an additional incentive effect on that we have different kinds of actuarial adjustments and rules for determining the benefits that could work as an incentive to stay one additional year, like the accrual rate in the social security wealth. But that could be also in some cases negative if the accrual rate is not sufficiently big to compensate for that lost earnings. Okay. So this is the labor force participation rate by age group in Sweden, and you can see it's among males, and you can see it's a long-term trend, in particular in the age group 60 to 64, towards a decreased labor force participation rate. So it started off in 85% back in early 60s, and it's decreased to around 60% in recent years. In the meantime, the health of average health status has improved. At least if you look at the health, like life expectancy as a health indicator. And one of the reasons behind this could be the built up of more generous welfare state income security programs. And we have taken part in an international program on where we compare the incentives led by the NBR in US, and so we compare the incentives inherent in social security programs or income security programs in different countries, and relate it to the labor force participation. And if we compare the labor force participation in Sweden among all the workers to other European countries, you can see that the Swedish curve, which looked quite dramatic, is in an international perspective not above the average, and in particular much higher than most Central European countries. So it's on the level of the US, and actually somewhat higher than the US, but and definitely higher than Germany and Belgium, for example. And other countries look that even worse, like France, for example, have very low participation rate among all the workers. So if we relate that to the sort of tax force inherent in the income security program, so we can see that parent and the share of sort of unused capacity in the labor force. You can see that it's an apparent relation that the countries which have a high tax on where the social security programs are constructed so that the incentives to remain in the labor force are low, also have a low labor force participation rate. And in this among all the workers, and in this perspective, Sweden looks. Here we have a comparatively high labor force participation rate, but also not. I mean, the disincentive effects from the old age pension plan is not that large. Yeah.
Can you relate in this context to the fact that the Swedish labor laws means that the last one to join a firm is the first one to be fired? The rule in the labor laws, which perhaps help all the workers to stay in the workforce.
Yeah.
I know that there is a lot of criticism by the right wing and the Centre Party.
Yeah. Yes. So you mean that workers with high seniority have a lower risk of being fired and lose the job, and yeah, it could be. I haven't seen any studies on the effect of the labor force participation rate on all the workers on that. I'm not sure. I don't think that it's such a large effect. There are several ways to go around these rules, actually, and increasing number of inventions to limiting the groups where these laws should be applied and so on.
How do you explain the relatively high rate of old workers within the workforce, which is unique in comparison?
Well, this explanation is that there are still some incentives to stay in the labor force. I mean, larger incentives compared to France or Italy, where they have they do not have actual adjustments and so on, like we still have in the Swedish pension schemes. But still, it's so. Most studies on income redistribution within the old age pension scheme have. Well, the typical result is that the income redistribution is very limited. There are very small redistribution between, in a lifetime's perspective. If you compare how much you pay into the system in payroll taxes and what you get out of the system, the income redistributions from rich people to poor people are very limited. On the other hand, if you compare the income inequality among retirees or among elderly people, people older than age 65, Sweden is come out as a very equal society. And also, if you compare poverty rates among older people. This is from the Luxembourg income study. Sweden always in all these studies, Sweden come out as having very low poverty rate among older, and so it's sort of a contradiction that you have very little income redistribution within your social security scheme, but still a relatively high rate of income equality among all the workers. And I think the sort of explanation to that is the relative generosity of the compulsory schemes in Sweden. First the state scheme, and then the trade union schemes, which covers all workers. So its rate of heterogeneity is quite limited in the coverage, which you see many other countries where have more privatized systems, like in the US.
Usually it is higher than everybody.
What if
Yeah?
Marten, I understand you well. Please. Although the redistribution by the welfare state is not that big, there is originally a lot of wage compression in the labor market that makes things much more equal.
Yeah.
It's a
the two underlying forces here. First, as we said, the earnings distribution in the labor force is compressed, and also the coverage of the pension programs are very homogeneous. Everyone is covered, and that sort of squeezes out private pension plans, which have a higher degree of heterogeneity. So I think the two forces behind that. Another issue is whether or not generous pension program affects the well-being of people. Extreme economic theories maybe say that pension reform has no effect. People say whatever they want anyway, and if you impose a more generous pension system, it's 100% crowded out by changes in labor supply behavior or savings behavior. So policymaker maybe would say the other way around, that it's no crowding out whatsoever. It has a sort of increase in the welfare of the elderly on a one-to-one basis. So the point of departure here is that it's sort of crowding out between 0 and 1 here of more generous pension plans. And in a recent study, a sort of follow-up study of this in this NBR program on the first 3 volumes were on different aspects of labor supply. The 4th volume is on the changes in well-being of more generous welfare programs. And in our study, we have studied the implementation of the more generous supplementary pension program in the ATP system, and that was done it was a referendum in 1957 when it was decided, and then they started to record earnings for determining the size of the benefits in 1960, and then there was a transition rule for these cohorts born between 1896 and 1914. It was required that 20 years of earnings was required for full benefits. And for these people, it's also the generosity of the plan increases linearly for every cohort. up to the cohort born in 1950, because then they changed the rule that they added one extra year for full benefit for each cohort. So then it was then this process on more generous benefits were stopped. But what we do is that we relate for these cohorts, we relate the disposable income as retired to a simulated benefit plan where we keep the behavior of the worker fixed. Okay, so we identify the effect in changes over cohorts. How much did the increased benefit from the transition rules, the linearly increased generosity, transform into higher disposable income as retirees? Okay, so we look at their earnings in their disposable income in a very large data set between 1983 and 1998. And so we include then fixed effect for years and age. So we identify all changes over cohorts. And then we use the simulated benefits when we hold the behavior of the workers constant. We use that simulated benefit as instrument for the actual benefit received.
Do you also have data on the savings? This is what you employ?
Yeah. It's sort of the crowding out of savings behavior or private arrangements in private pension plans and supplementary pension plans on a private basis.
But you don't have direct data on that, right? So that's why you need to do this.
Yeah.
Could you explain the results? I don't understand the results.
Yeah, the typical result was sort of it reflected that if you give 1 shekel or 1 krona in additional benefits, 80% of that was reflected in higher disposable income or higher economic well-being, and 20% of it was crowded out for those affected by reform. So the general result was that it did in fact increase the economic well-being of the retired people, but there were some crowded out. It was a result between these extreme positions, but closer to the one-to-one basis, 80%. And that was also some differences in different regions of the income distribution. There, the lower part of the income distribution were not very affected because they are on basic pension level. And it was also a bit larger crowding out among high-income workers. Okay, just some brief discussion on the effects of other income security programs. Here is the share of sorry, I didn't translate. This is the total share of people out of the labor force, or not working in Sweden. So you see that it has a sort of increasing trend. And here is how they're financed. And this line here is the unemployment insurance. You see here it went up to 10% in the economic crisis, and now it's down, I think, somewhat below 5%. No, 5%. Then it's this is the disability pension program, DI. And this here, this line here, which is, as you can see, fluctuating a lot, is the sickness insurance program. And you can see that it increases by almost 100% in a couple of years here, from 2.5% to 3% of the workforce to up to about 6% of the workforce. And I've done some studies on more. Could I switch to this? Yeah, we've done a study on the labor supply, or more hazard effect of this scheme. And what we do is that we so do the replacement level affect the sickness or the labor supply among the workers. And what we do is that we study a reform which was implemented in 1991. And so the reform was that it was the 90% replacement level for all workers from the first day. And after reform, the replacement level was decreased to 65% the first 3 days, and to 80% between day 4 and 89, and remained for longer spells. It remained on 90%. So there were several testable implications from this reform. For workers in a work spell, it was an ambiguous increasing in the cost for beginning a new spell. For people who are long-term sick, like staying in spells longer than 90 days, it was an unambiguous cost increase after reform because of returning to the work, because then they sort of exposed to the risk of going into a new sickness spells, which with increasing cost after reform. But since the replacement levels remained at 90% after they didn't have any cost change for staying in the sickness spell. Okay, and for in between these people in spells up to 90 days, it was an ambiguous effect. Like these effects were counteracting each other. Okay, we did. Here's the most obvious. Here's the proportion of people in sickness spells, and you can see here's the period, studied period the year before reform, and here is the behavior, the prevalence of people on sickness insurance the year of the reform. And you can see that it's a marked effect of in the data on usage of the year when they implemented the reform and they reduced the long-term spends as an effect of the cost increase, returning to the labor force. Okay, so it definitely there is also in this program a disincentive effect on labor supply. Thanks. Is there a redistribution from this scheme? There has been a recent government committee looking at the redistribution from the sick pay insurance scheme, and the payroll tax is proportional. So people pay proportional of the sort of premium they pay into the insurance scheme is proportional to their earnings. But potential redistribution is that low-income earners have a much higher rate of utilization of this scheme, and also females have a much higher degree of utilization than males. So you could, from this risk perspective, that differences in risks are not reflected in the payroll taxes, creates a case for redistribution, and also the fact that the compensation is only up to the social security ceiling also sort of exaggerates the income redistribution of the scheme. And recently, this government commission, they estimate the degree of redistribution and found out that it was actually huge redistribution within the scheme. And they related it to the redistribution from the progressive tax system in Sweden, and found that the redistribution from this scheme was actually larger than the redistribution from progressive tax system. Okay, so brief conclusions. Shown to be disincentive effects of most, also, which I would have time to go into. There are several studies on the unemployment insurance that show disincentive effects of more generous replacement levels. But at least so there is no loading to this title of the article that we discussed in the break. That is, the welfare state is no free lunch. There are different disincentive effects. But if you compare it to other countries, it's at least for the old age pension program, it seems larger in several other countries. And I think the underlying reason is that Swedish system, although the levels are quite high, there are inherent incentives to stay in the labor force. Actuarial reactions and so on. There are very little income redistribution in the old age pension scheme, but provides a relatively equal distribution of income among elderly and low poverty rate, and the background is, as we said, comparatively high income equality in the working population, and also sort of homogeneous coverage of pension program from both the unionization of the labor market and the comparatively generous government schemes. And think that there are large income redistributions in the income security system are through the disability insurance and sickness insurance programs. The sickness insurance alone is more redistributed than the income tax system. That's the piece. Okay, that was